So here we go. Pierce night with pale skin. Platinum hair flows eternal. There's much to confess. Have at you. I'm Seth. Hi.
No! It cannot be!
Count Dracula had risen to menace humanity once again, this time in the form of a 4-hour Symphony of the Night episode of a video game music podcast. The well-liked independent Nintendo podcaster, Seth Sturgill, stood against him, and at last read his haiku, which glazed Alucard, son of Dracula, pretty thoroughly. However, one night 2 weeks later, under the glare of a full moon, Seth mysteriously vanished. Matt set out to find him, but knew not where to begin. It was then that fate intervened. Bit Harmony, the podcast where two overly invested and emotional dorks tell you about video games and music that they like too much, which is rumored to appear every fortnight, suddenly materialized from the mist, as if to show him the way. Meanwhile, powerful forces struggled for the soul of a woman named Natascha. She, who has endured countless nights of sitting in silence while her husband tirelessly clicks away at editing silly little podcasts. To purge the world of her own infectious enthusiasm for video games, Natascha had sealed away her copies of Yokai Watch 1, Yokai Watch 2, and Yokai Watch 3 in one of those big blue Rubbermaid container thingies. But now, she can no longer ignore the cackles of false space bunnies activating invader mode, nor the cries of Jibanyan eternally locked in a contest of strength with a truck. The eternal battle of good and evil has come full circle once more. The Yokai Watch episode of Bit Harmony beckons for you, and no man can say who will emerge victorious.
You're listening to Bit Harmony, a video game music podcast, otherwise known as Matt Has a Lot of Fun Doing Dumb Stuff with Audio. Today, as you might have figured out by the intro, Seth is not here this episode. My normal co-host is gone, but the normal co-host of my life, my wife Natascha, is here to take over today.
Hello.
Today we're talking about Yokai Watch 1, Yokai Watch 2, and Yokai Watch 3, and maybe we'll dabble like a tiny little bit into spin-offs and whatever else, but the main focus of today's episode is on Yokai Watch 1, 2, 3. This is kind of rounding out Bit Harmony's October kind of spooky game coverage. Not exactly. Yokai Watch isn't that spooky, but it does have a ghostly spirit theme or whatever, right?
Yeah, it can be spooky sometimes.
From what I watched of you played of it the past week, yeah, there were some spooky moments, but yeah, it's mostly
in a goofy way.
Yeah, it's mostly that Scooby-Doo level, like Zoinks kind of spooky, as opposed to, body horror, Junji Ito.
Yeah.
Anyway, the intro for you this episode is the main theme from Yokai Watch 1, and we will be right back. And that was the main theme from Yokai Watch 1. Quick note before we even start talking about anything, as evidenced by my wife being the co-host today, this isn't going to be like your normal episode of Bit Harmony. We're not going to be talking as much about, like, in depth on the music, if that makes sense. This is kind of more so from a, it was just kind of hard to, like, how do we even do this? Like, are we going to listen to the music together and then make separate notes, but then not tell each other the notes until we record the podcast? You know, it would have been very,
Also, we already talked a lot about the music.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Right. When it comes to the main theme in particular, I don't have that much to say about it. It's just like a good little ghostly, cartoony ghost theme, you know. Without getting too much into gameplay stuff, you can talk a little bit about gameplay, obviously, but we'll save most of that for later. But without getting too much into that stuff, what are your thoughts on the main theme of Yokai 1, and what does, like, listening to that song evoke to you?
I feel like it's, at least to me, it is very iconic. Like the tunes and the instruments that are being used, and then the spooky, like, woo noise that they always use. So yeah, I don't know. It immediately, pulls up memories from me playing it, and I think, it's just very unique for the whole series. And like the intro, like the style of it, like goes through the whole soundtrack of it. Well, not everything. We gonna hear that. Like there's some stuff that's very different.
It's still like 90% of the songs you're gonna hear that woo.
Yeah, I like that they were sticking to that, and that there's some kind of like theme, and they are being like, what is it called, like sticking.
So like a motif, kind of.
Yeah, like that's kind of cool. I like that.
Yeah, so I'm basically not familiar with the series at all, besides what, like, the songs you have played for me over the years, and what, like, the things you've talked about it with over the years, but, you know, not having context for it, a lot of it doesn't get absorbed into me beyond, like, Jibanyan and all the different forms of Jibanyan and blah, blah, blah. To prep for this episode, I wasn't going to even attempt to play even one of these 3 RPGs that are all like dozens and dozens of hours long without even getting into like 100%ing it. Your old file for Yokai Watch 1 had like 178 hours or something on it.
Yeah.
So instead of trying to like watch footage or whatever, I just had you play, and I watched you play. It was a very cozy, like, fall activity, busting out the 2DS XL and watching you play. You played about like 5 hours of Yokai Watch 1 that I watched, and then yesterday you played like 8 hours straight of Yokai Watch 2. I haven't seen you devour a game like that since like Baldur's Gate 3, I think.
I always wanted to, I only beat all of them once. So yeah, I always kind of wanted to replay them, but yeah, there's, everyone knows there's just always so many new games, so there just never was really the time. So yeah, and now this wasn't a good opportunity to do it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
That's kind of been a really fun thing about doing Bit Harmony in general, is how, like, no joke, basically every episode we've done, you know, I try and at least get my hands on a game a little bit. Like, when we did Dust Force, I played for like 5 hours of Dust Force. That was like enough. Whereas, you know, Castlevania Symphony of the Night was our previous episode. I have been Castlevania'd out at this point. I am playing so much Castlevania stuff. We'll talk about it a little bit, to talk about discussion in the Discord and whatever. But, you know, I blasted through Symphony, and then I loaded up the Advanced Collection to play Aria of Sorrow, playing through the Dominus Collection right now. I am cranked out for Castlevania right now in a way that I haven't been in a while. And that's, it's because of doing this show. It's a nice excuse to just, like, go back. Seth and I were talking about this recently, like, this wasn't the intent with Bit Harmony, but it kind of morphed into almost like a games club styled thing of, like, it's just an excuse to talk about these games and also the music. Like, originally the intent was, let's focus on the music, and now it's kind of become more of a 50-50 thing. But if anything, I kind of like that more anyway, you know? And yeah, it was just a nice excuse to, like, watch you play something, you know? This was like my real first crash course into Yokai Watch, and it came like 10 years late. And, you know, we'll talk about it in a little bit, but it made me regret the fact that I didn't play these when they were new.
Good. Everyone should regret that.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. We'll talk about it in a bit. But yeah, what happened to the Yokai Watch series is very unfortunate. What has happened to Level 5 in general is kind of unfortunate. But yeah, we'll talk about that in a bit. Let's do some general housekeeping. Again, not a normal episode, so we're not going to be doing like an hour of talking about The Circle or whatever that Seth and I usually talk about. That said, I have finished Season 7 of The Circle, and I imagine on the next episode there will be like a 40-minute discussion between Seth and I about Season 7 of The Circle. So everyone look forward to that. So I actually don't really have easy access to reviews and comments. Seth, we've been talking throughout the week. He has added some notes here and there for me to comment on. So if there are any new reviews, I don't have access to them. If there are any Spotify comments, I don't have access to them. If the feud between Wilkins and Jim and Seth and I are still going on, I don't know. Seth did note here a random thing. Shout out if you want. BitHarmony has crossed 1,000 downloads. Yeah, that's cool. Mm-hmm. Thanks for listening. I hope you keep listening after that crazy intro that I did this week or this episode. Yeah, we kind of already covered the postmortem that we normally do for the previous episode, at least as much as I want to now. On the next episode when Seth is back, I really kind of want to talk a lot about Castlevania, specifically Dawn of Sorrow. He also played it. I just started replaying it last night. I will note that Sparky in the Discord had picked up the Dominus collection after listening to the Symphony of the Night episode, or the Soten episode as we're calling it now. And it's just a blast watching people play something like that for the first time. That game is nearly 20 years old. It's like 19 and a half years old. That was like the first DS game that I really fell in love with. Honestly, it's kind of the first Castlevania game like I really truly fell in love with. So it's cool watching people 20 years later like pick it up and be like, oh yeah, this is really cool. But again, we'll save the general housekeeping for Symphony of the Night for the next episode. Maybe if we have time, who knows? We're going to have a backlog at that point. We do have a few voicemails to get into. Do you want to start getting into the voicemails then, dear?
Sure.
Okay. Our first voicemail this episode is from Presto, who is our most regular caller. He has called in every episode for the last at least 6. I don't remember exactly when it started. He always leaves us a random song of the episode. I'm explaining this to my wife, not the listener, by the way. And he was not able to call in last time. He just was able to send in the song that he wanted. So he was excited to be able to get a voicemail in again this time. So let's take a listen to what Presto has to say.
Hello, BitHarmony. Wow, it feels good to say those words again.
Mm-hmm.
First of all, I was just going to say, it's incredible how fast of a turnaround the show is. Hats off to Matt in the editing room. I know it's, more of an editing dungeon considering how long you're editing for, but, seriously, good work. Just, as a Patreon member, I see it as soon as it's up, and oh, they recorded, yes, okay. To Jim from the last episode, heck yeah, Tetris Attack is a banger. Love that game. That game is so fun. I play Penelope on the NSO app all the time. It's just so good. As for the last song that I sent in, it's a fine song to me. I think that it hits a lot harder when actually playing the game. This wouldn't be something I'd add to my playlist. That's Final Boss Gen. But the Miku song by the same creator, Camellia, hits hard. I love that song. But I also love Night Horse, so it's fine. If that makes you feel old, you make me feel young all the time, so this makes it even.
Well, that's
and I guess the random song for the episode is Stand Your Ground from Final Fantasy 15. So yeah, that's a good song by Yoko Shimomura. That's good stuff. Good stuff. Well, I'm off to go drink water. It's been a while since I've done that.
Hey, I hear you. I could also use more water. I want to quickly note the song that he sent in last time, that Final Boss Chan, was from Beat Saber. You remember that Beat Saber game VR? When Presto sent that in, we didn't play the whole song in the episode because it was his footage of it. So it was him playing the game and his version of the song, because it's a rhythm game. But because of how like kind of crushed the audio was, a lot of it was just kind of like sounded like noise. So that day he sent it in, I loaded it up, and you were still like in bed, like just waking up, and then that came out of the speakers, and you were like, "What is this?"
Yeah.
I'll also note that the phrase "you make me feel young all the time," that sounds beautiful. That sounds like something I'd say to you. Not to a couple nearly middle-aged men on a podcast. Anyway, we are going to hold off on playing Presto's song. That's what was it? Stand Your Ground from Final Fantasy 15. We'll get to that in a little bit. I want to play the next voicemail first, and then we're going to do both of those songs as their own combined break at that point. So, our next voicemail is from a surprise, first time, long time.
Hey Matt, hey Tosh, it's Seth. Hey guys. Couldn't keep me completely out of the episode. I thought it'd be kind of funny. That'd be kind of a funny bit to call in to my own podcast. You know, if I can't be there, then like I gotta weasel my way in some way. Also, I understand now. This is my first time leaving a voicemail. Obviously, normally I'm on the other side of this, and there's a lot of pressure when you realize you only have 3 minutes. I gotta get this out quick. I thought about a few things that I was potentially gonna call and talk to y'all about. Maybe ask a question. Maybe I don't know. I had a few things I was thinking of, but what I actually want is, you know, there's a very bit harmony moment that happened to me recently where I've had a game in the back of my head that I've been trying to think of for months, and I recently found it, specifically when I played Before the Green Moon earlier this year. I was like, man, there is a game that this reminds me of, and I couldn't call it to mind. I was Google searching for like hours, and I finally found it. It's a game called Little Big Adventure, which I guess is I think my dad had it on PC or something, and I watched like a long play of it, and I watched it for like hours. It's just very nostalgic, just like kind of a weird like proto 3D tank control adventure game with like weird combat and stealth and just kind of quirky characters. And I loved it when I was a kid. But anyway, I wanted to, first of all, see if either Matt or Tosh knows this game at all. And if you do, I would love to hear your thoughts on it. The song specifically that I would like y'all to listen to is called The Rebels, which is this kind of like, I don't know, it's interesting. It's like nostalgic and plucky, and it feels like adventurous, but it's also got like a militant drum line that kind of feels like boot campy, or yeah, like it takes place on like a rebel militia base. I don't know. Little Big Adventure, The Rebels. Let me know what you think. All right. Have a great show, guys. Thanks.
Thanks, Seth. Yeah, we were talking also about having a dumb bit where we're gonna extend the skit of the opening to the voicemail, and like Seth is calling in to like leave help or ask for help from like another realm. It's also funny just how different your voice sounds over voicemail.
Yeah, I was like, hey, that's Seth?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, because he's not speaking into like a super expensive, nice microphone, you know? He's leaving a voicemail. I asked you this the other day. I already know the answer, but you've never played, or I played you footage of Little Big Adventure, and you've never seen it before, right?
At first, the title of it sounded very familiar to me. Mm-hmm. But yeah, then we looked at footage or pictures, screenshots, and no, I don't know that game.
I don't know why, but I don't know that game sounds very. It's like I don't know her, or I'm not familiar. This looked familiar to me, but I've definitely never played it. Looking it up, for one, back then it was a very well received game. It was a renowned like adventure kind of isometric game. It received lots of awards in like the late 90s of like best 100 PC games of all time kind of thing. And it's funny, when I loaded up the long play and played a little bit of it for you the other day, the thing that was like striking most to you and to me, honestly, was the voice acting, which, you know, makes sense. This game is from like 1994. Like you can't expect like super professional, very well done voice acting back then. You know, it was a pretty new concept in video games in general. The fact that there's as much voice acting in there as there is actually kind of surprising, but it's also very clearly just like people just talking into a microphone. You know, I feel like we would have better voice acting.
Maybe.
Okay. But yeah, sorry to disappoint you that I don't really have experience with the game, Seth. Neither of us do. I thought Tosh maybe would because, Tosh has a lot of stories about playing games with her dad and stuff. Specifically, I always like hearing the one about The Legend of Zelda on NES and not knowing what grumble grumble means because they didn't translate it into German back then. So I thought maybe there's a chance you knew what it was, but yeah, this is my PC gaming knowledge of that era it's nothing. I've got nothing. But anyway, we are going to go on our first normal break of the episode, I guess. That is going to be the requests from Presto and Seth, Stand Your Ground from Final Fantasy 15, and The Rebels from Little Big Adventure, and we will be right back. and that was Stand Your Ground by Yoko Shimomura from Final Fantasy 15, and The Rebels from Little Big Adventure. And on that break, I found out it was composed by Philippe Vacchi. Did you have any specific thoughts, I guess, on either of those songs? I have a couple, but I'll let you go first.
I mean, I'm not that big of a Final Fantasy player, but yeah, I do like a lot of the music.
Yeah.
And with that specific song, I liked how it kind of like sounded sad, but also hopeful at the same time. And yeah, I liked it.
I find that's kind of like a signature of like a lot of Yoko Shimomura stuff outside of like her RPG work. A lot of that sounds like that. Like she did what's that PlayStation 1 Mana game that you like a lot? Is that Legend of Mana?
Yeah.
She did that soundtrack, you know.
Yeah,
she
that is very good.
Yeah, I've heard a little bit of it. It sounds incredible. Honestly, I still think that's maybe her best work, and that's saying a lot. She's composed some of like the most well-known soundtracks of all time. Specifically, Stand Your Ground. I've not played Final Fantasy 15. I'm very familiar with that song because of Final Fantasy Theater Rhythm. What was the one on Switch? Final Bar Line or whatever. Hey, I played like 150 hours of that game. I really like that game a lot, and I played that song a lot. It's pretty good. It really reminds me of a Kingdom Hearts theme, which again, Yoko Shimomura, makes sense. Really reminds me a lot of like late game, like Kingdom Hearts 1 or 2, like Hollow Bastion battle music kind of thing. It's just good. I've been meaning to play Final Fantasy 15 for years. It's funny, Presto, that you send this in on the episode where Seth isn't here, because Seth is the only person I know that has played Final Fantasy 15 and has good things to say about it. I would be curious to know what Seth's thoughts on that are. But thank you for sending that in. And speaking of Seth's thoughts, what do you think about The Rebels from Little Big Adventure?
I mean, yeah, like we talked about before, we don't know anything about this game, but it sounded very cute and adventurous. I guess that's what it's supposed to be, judging by the name of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I liked it too.
Yeah, for one, Seth's description of it, you know, because he was talking about like a militant kind of like marching thing to it, and like that does happen later in the song, but it's not there at the start immediately. Yeah. So I was like, where's the militant part? And then all of a sudden, like kind of like the fun like kind of light and airy like flutes kind of give way to like more of a march, which is interesting. Yeah, from what I watched of that long play, I thought it was kind of neat looking. Again, any game with like that amount of extensive voice acting from back then, that would have captured my imagination pretty thoroughly back then. I saw a lot of people talking about it, not just on the YouTube comments, but in general searching for it. A lot of people talking about how like it felt when they played this 30 years ago that like it was taking them into another world kind of thing. I also, just the vibe of it, just the vibe of the narration at the beginning of the game kind of gave me some Discworld vibes. I know you're a big Terry Pratchett fan. But yeah, I think that's on good old games too. Like I think it is relatively easily playable on modern PCs nowadays. So interesting to keep in mind. But yeah, I don't have that knowledge base. It was a cool song though. I particularly like the flutes a lot. Yeah. Lastly, we have a voicemail from Spriteless, and we'll play that for you right now.
Hello, this is Spriteless again. Thank you for having a podcast filled with human expression and about human expression in a day and age where Google can create infinity podcasts. It's great to have people who care. But hey, you said your next episode was going to be about Yokai Watch. That's quite a big game series. It's got lots of stuff in one game.
Yes, it does.
What's a favorite mechanic in Yokai Watch is my question then. So, thank you. Have a good night. Ta-ta for now.
Thank you for calling in, Spriteless. So yeah, real quick, I'm not up on like just how extensive AI has like ruined the world. When you're saying that, Spriteless, do you mean like are there actual like AI produced like fake podcasts now also?
Yeah, I've never heard of that also, but I don't doubt it. I mean, they do so much with stuff like that nowadays.
Yeah, I don't doubt it, but I hadn't heard of that. If that's the case, so like
It's insane.
I don't doubt the capability for something like that, but the fact that that's out there now is, I hadn't even thought about it, but it makes sense. There's AI generated like everything out there nowadays. I appreciate you just calling in and saying that. Again, when Seth and I were kind of talking about doing this podcast before we even started it, when we were just kind of pitching ideas to each other, and I brought up the car talk comparison multiple times. I never thought about it, but like that is what made car talk good. It's two dudes having fun and just talking about. They're having a good time just talking with one another, right? Like that is what car talk is, and that is what Bit Harmony is. But I never thought about like the reason why that's special or feels special is just because there just isn't that much of that.
Yeah, I guess it's not just AI. It's just that probably a lot of stuff is like overproduced or like too perfect or too like what is it called, like directed. So yeah,
I think Bit Harmony it straddles that line of like. I'm not trying to claim that I'm like a professional producer or anything of this sort. Again, my intros have been insane lately, but on purpose. But I do realize like there is a lot of effort that goes into them. So I think that any like shortcomings on like a technical side are more easy to ignore because if you're someone that likes the content in here, then you're really going to like the content in here, if that makes sense. But yeah, I know. I mean, I've never gotten to talk about it on this podcast. It gets brought up pretty frequently, but yeah, my wife and I, we met each other on Miiverse of all things, right? So like, I'm well aware of how meaningful connections being made online can be, to put it lightly. So I get it, and I'm glad that you feel the same. I'm glad that you feel that strongly enough about it that you want to call in and leave a voicemail about it. I appreciate it. I appreciate you. That was very nice. When it comes to the Yokai Watch question about what your favorite mechanic is, again, we don't need to go super duper in depth into it yet since we haven't quite gotten there. But like, do you have any just overview on that?
I think mainly, I don't know if it's a mechanic exactly, but what I just love about all of these games is just like the daily life stuff that is in there, or slice of life is what it's called, mixed with like RPG elements. And I'm very much interested in yokai folklore, spooky stories from Japan. I have a bunch of books about it. I went to an exhibition that was here once in Hamburg, and I'm just very interested in that kind of stuff. So yeah, there's just a lot of theming and stuff in these games that I already like a lot, and I think they did also a great job of transferring that into a very fun, goofy way. And yeah, I like goofy too, so I can't really name a specific mechanic of it, but just the general vibe of the games that I just love.
Yeah. Again, I wasn't familiar with Yokai Watch, especially as a video game, until this past week. And yeah, what really sticks out to me, it is that slice of life vibe. Like, I really wasn't expecting, at least from what I've seen of 1 and 2, it really feels kind of like Boku no Natsuyasame crossed with like a monster catching game. And again, we will talk about it in a little bit. It's not that much like Pokemon beyond the fact that you're capturing monsters or whatever, or befriending them or whatever. But it is in that same like space or whatever. So I really wasn't expecting the Boku no Natsuyasame or slice of life influence to be as strong as it is. Like you had mentioned that to me before, that it is very slice of lifey, and other people had too, but I just didn't realize just how much. Like, we'll talk about it. Like, my haiku is a very specific moment that you showed me in the game that has nothing to do with like battling yokai or whatever. It is one of the more slice of life things or whatever. But did you have anything else you wanted to add to the general, any general favorite things about Yokai Watch before we dive in hardcore?
No, not yet.
Okay. So again, thank you for anyone that called in the past, present, or future. Yes, you. If you want to call in to Bit Harmony, you can do that in one of two ways, or I guess both ways if you want. You can send any voicemails over email to bitharmonypod@gmail.com, or much easier and much cooler because you get the voicemail effect we talked about earlier. You can dial that in to 216-230-8540. That number again is 216-230-8540. And you do need to keep those under 3 minutes. Otherwise, you'll get kicked out, and it's a whole thing. But otherwise, we're going to go on a break. We're going to play you Versus Yokai and Uptown Springdale, both from Yokai Watch 1. And then we're going to come back and actually start talking some Yokai Watch. was, once again, Versus Yokai and Uptown Springdale, both from Yokai Watch 1. Holy crap, Versus Yokai. That bass line is insane.
Yeah, it's very, very good. It's also just a lot of fun while you're playing. Like, I really like that battle theme a lot. Like, yeah.
I really specifically, like, for our first dedicated Yokai break, besides, the intro break, I really wanted to open with a battle theme. Because, like, to me, the battle themes tend to be the standouts. And there's a lot of battle themes across this whole series. Like, each game has, like, a lot.
And remixes and, like, slightly altered versions. And, yeah.
Yeah, I think we've got at least, like, 3 other battle themes playing this episode or something. And, yeah. We mentioned it at the start, but yeah, it has a lot of that woo song or sound in there. So I just felt like this is kind of like the best representation I could possibly convey. If I were to break the Yokai Watch soundtrack, the whole series soundtrack, down to one song, it would probably be this song. I don't know if you agree, but
Yeah, I do.
Do you have any thoughts? Well, other thoughts on that song or on Uptown Springdale?
I mean, yeah, Uptown Springdale is just like your very cozy, happy sounding like town theme. And yeah, you gonna hear it a lot when you start playing, especially the first game. And yeah, it's just kind of like imprinted into my head because of that. So I have very like fond like memories and feelings for it. Yeah.
Sometimes, like, when we're playing, like, Salmon Run, I talk about this on the podcast often, that, like, we listen to other music while we play Salmon Run. Sometimes when I, like, kind of give you control of the music or ask if you had any specific requests, sometimes, not often, but sometimes the Yokai Watch soundtrack comes up. And yes, the song, even before I watched you play this for 4 hours the other night, the song was already imprinted on me because it's just a catchy RPG town theme. Yeah, it's just good. And then in 2, they like you're also in Springdale in 2, and like there's a rearrangement that it's pretty similar, but it has more instruments going on, and yeah, it's pretty good. But otherwise, that is it for the notes on those 2 songs. Or notes. We had no notes. We have no notes when it comes to music in this episode. With that said, let's talk a little bit about Yokai Watch 1 as a game. Again, dear, you've never actually heard a full episode of the podcast, but you've heard my half of a few of these before. Usually what we do is I've gone through and just found some notes, researched the topic, and I just kind of present it almost in like a book report form. If you have any comments, just let me know. I do have, in my notes, this is a little bit behind the scenes, I have little highlights of where I want to stop and then ask you specific questions if you don't have anything to say.
Okay.
But that's just the structure of it, so I'll just start reading off some of this stuff. Yokai Watch 1 is a 3DS game released July 11th, 2013 in Japan. That made me feel old as dirt seeing that date. It didn't come out in America until November 6, 2015, so that made me feel a little better that it hasn't been a decade since the Western release of the game. But then not till April 29th of 2016 in EU. So I guess I already kind of have a question for you. Is like what was your interest level in Yokai Watch even before the game came out in Europe?
I mean, level 5 is one of my, or was, I don't know anymore, we gotta see about that. Was always one of my favorite game developers besides Nintendo. I love Fantasy Life. I played so much of that. I think 300 hours or something.
It's a lot, yeah.
Or almost. And then, when I saw, I think I saw the Japanese version first. Yeah, on the internet, people were talking about it and showing screenshots and what it is all about. I was like, what? They're making like a monster catching thing with like yokai? And then I saw the cute designs. I mean, Jibanyan you see everywhere. I was like, what? This is amazing. I want to play that.
So if you're not aware or weren't around, not paying attention to games back then, Yokai Watch, and again, we'll get more into this in a little bit, but like it was a phenomenon in Japan. Like it was huge, especially in the Yokai Watch 2 era, which we'll get into after the next break. You know, I didn't really have much interest in this series back then in general, but even then I was still hearing about it all the time. You know, from a sales perspective, like this series was blowing up in Japan at the time, and it was making a huge splash. We'll talk about when it got localized a little bit more in depth in a bit here, but eventually there was a Switch kind of remaster. It almost is more like a port to me, but they did put it on Switch and smartphone. I wasn't aware of the smartphone version, but that was in 2019 for Switch and 2021 for smartphones. Both those versions are still only in Japan. I did not realize that the 3DS version of the game already had an English translation in it when it came out, and they don't have it at all in the Switch or the mobile phone version, so I guess that kind of already tells you that they had no plans on bringing that over, unfortunately. I know that's like still one of your most wished for Switch games.
Yeah.
As mentioned by my wife, this was developed by Level 5, also published by Level 5 in Japan, published by Nintendo outside of Japan. If you're not familiar with Level 5, besides Yokai Watch, like what do you most associate with them? I guess Fantasy Life.
Yeah, and Ni no Kuni, especially because, when I heard they are making a game in cooperation with Studio Ghibli, like another one of my favorite things. Like I love all their movies. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god. And also, obviously it looks so good because of, Studio Ghibli was doing the art for it. Ni no Kuni is a lot of people calling it a classic, and I agree. You should play it. It's another monster buddy mechanic.
Right.
You fight with your little, is it like demons or little guys? I don't know.
I just call them little dudes. That's what I call everything.
Like fantasy creatures.
And that is like more real-time action RPG, right?
Yeah, they actually did that for I never played it because it never came out here. Yokai Watch 4. They used that battle system in Yokai Watch 4.
Right. Whereas the battle system in the first 3 mainline Yokai Watch games, they're not quite turn-based. Like, it's hard to explain what they are, and maybe we'll save it for a little bit, but, like, they are closer to turn-based than action-y, you know? I think probably what most people know Level 5 for in the DS era, and probably nowadays, especially outside Japan, is Professor Layton.
Yeah.
That's probably...
Inazuma 11.
Yes, Inazuma 11. So I did have a few other things they put out written down here. I didn't realize that they've been active since like the late 90s.
They're also a pretty small studio. Like I think they have 150 employees. That's it.
Yeah, I think they're not huge, which also makes it very weird that they've announced like 7 games at the same time.
And all of them delayed.
Yeah, like literally all of them delayed years and years. What I most know them for actually is Dragon Quest 8 and Dragon Quest 9. I think a lot of people don't know this, but Dragon Quest, at least back then, was not internally developed at Enix. Enix was actually just a publisher. Even when they were acquired, or not acquired, but they merged with Squaresoft, Dragon Quest games were still outsourced to other developers. Even I think most of these Dragon Quest remakes and modern Dragon Quest games are still outsourced to other developers. Like the Enix side of things or the Square Enix side of things is mostly just Yuji Horii like coming up with the concept for the game and the writing for the game. So back in this era, Level 5 was the main developers of Dragon Quest 8 and 9, which absolutely love both of those games. I think 8 is like the closest in feel to Dragon Quest 11, which I know you and I both, like that's one of our favorite RPGs of all time. To me, it is objectively like one of the best RPGs of all time. So I always tell people like, hey, I know it's not easily playable nowadays. There is a 3DS port, but you know you can't buy stuff easily on the 3DS anymore. But Dragon Quest 8, if you're hankering for more stuff like Dragon Quest 11, 8 is the closest thing you can get. Dragon Quest 9 is an interesting one because when this was revealed, it was actually an action game. And I think, from what I remember, the combat actually looked kind of a lot like Fantasy Life-esque. Yeah. And it was meant to be a multiplayer action RPG, but Japan fans had such a meltdown that Square acquiesced, and they're like, okay, fine, we're delaying the game years, and we're going to make it turn-based again. Which, Dragon Quest IX is fantastic. I also love Dragon Quest IX, but, like, you can't help but, like, imagine, like, what could have been, like, if the series had made that step at that point, but I get it. Dragon Quest is so traditional that I get why fans were upset about it at the time, and, I guess we kind of got to see what Dragon Quest IX action version was with some of their other games, but other games by them, we already talked about Ni no Kuni. There's Ni no Kuni 2. Dark Cloud was their first game that they put out. That was a pretty big, like, early PS2 game. Did you ever play either of the Dark Cloud games?
No.
Okay. I only rented 2. I liked it quite a bit. It was very good. There's a pretty interesting, like, town building mechanic going on. Like, it's like you're restoring your town that got destroyed or something. I'm not sure if that's also in Dark Cloud 1. Rogue Galaxy, people liked at the time. I think my friend Colin played it recently and was like, it's not that good. Not that good anymore. Also, we mentioned Fantasy Life, and also Snack World, which you and I have maybe the only 2 people outside Japan that have played Snack World on Switch. That is also kind of like, it's a combination of like a lot of stuff. Like, it kind of feels a little bit like Fantasy Life, a little bit like Yokai Watch,
To me, it is basically like very similar to Yokai Watch Blasters, because it's like a dungeon crawler, and I feel like the battle system and what you're doing, like the mechanics, is very much like Yokai Watch Blasters. Or Busters?
I think it's Blasters, because Busters was too close to Ghostbusters, so they changed it to Blasters, we'll talk a little bit more about Blasters later, but I will say Snack World, that came out, was that 2019? Nintendo published it outside of Japan. Again, went very under the radar, but from what we played of it, I liked it a decent amount. It looks really nice on Switch, very, very clean, just solid dungeon crawling stuff. It's all completely co-op. You can play the whole thing with other people. Also want to shout out one of the best localizations I have ever seen in my life. There's this kind of like rock star skeleton zombie character that you can get on your team. And his name is Ozzy Ozdied, which to this day, I haven't played that game in like 5 years, I think is maybe the funniest localization pun I've ever heard in my life. I think that is incredible. Yokai Watch 1, and from what I can tell, 2 and 3 were all directed by Ken Motomura. There surprisingly wasn't that much information I could find on him. A lot of it was very inconsistent. Wikipedia is the only source I could find listing him as the director of Yokai Watch 3. Like, even Moby Games, which is usually extremely thorough, does not have anything for him on Yokai Watch 3, so I'm not 100% sure about that. But yeah, he seems to be who Level 5 busts out when they have like bigger RPG projects going on. He's also the director of Ni no Kuni, and he was a design director on Dragon Quest IX. Funny enough, I refrained from telling you this. I was kind of excited to tell you this. He wasn't the director or anything, but he actually has credits on both of the N64 Castlevania games, which you are the only person I know that has played those.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I think it's interesting that, again, he wasn't high up on those games or anything, but he does have credits on like maybe some of the least liked Castlevania games. But again, I feel like there's been a resurgence. People are trying to reevaluate those N64 Castlevania games. I've still never played them. I want to at some point. But yeah, beyond that, couldn't find much. Most of his stuff is at level 5. I found that most of the big names attached to this game, they were all kind of mostly at level 5.
I mean, that's kind of what always was their thing, right? That they like were trying to do everything on their own and internally. Right.
And you can really see that with the composer, who is Kenichiro Saigo. And from what I could find on Kenichiro Saigo, has literally only composed music in video games for level 5 games. In fact, he is only credited as main composer on the Yokai Watch games. So like this is his stuff, you know.
Very good stuff.
Yeah, I'm very excited for our next break. The songs we've picked out to play in the next break are insane. I would love to hear Kenichiro Saigo like doing other stuff. Maybe he's also working on some of the level 5's like future projects or something. Maybe Deca Police. I feel like Deca Police could be cool because instead of like having like the ghostly theme, you could have like a like a cyberpunky thing going on. I think could be cool. As for the actual game, Yokai Watch is, we mentioned before, is a monster capturing or befriending role-playing game where you explore and find new yokai to befriend and battle other yokai with. We've mentioned yokai before, but for anyone that doesn't know, yokai are basically just like Japanese supernatural folklore, right?
Yeah, they're like spirits or ghosts, or like spirits inhabiting like objects, objects that were like forgotten about or thrown away. They become alive with a soul because of how sad it is, how they're treated, because in like Shintoism in Japan, they think like everything has a soul,
right?
Even a rock. And that's what this is based on.
And if you're not familiar with the term yokai, like there's no way, if you're somehow listening to Bit Harmony, that you're not enough of a nerd to have seen like depictions of yokai before, you know, like the umbrella with like the one leg and stuff, like
the eyeball.
Yeah, like you've seen yokai before, even if you're not familiar with the term.
I mean, yeah, there's also a lot of like very old traditional like Japanese wood block prints and paintings of yokai. So yeah, you've probably seen it somewhere.
Right. Even like in games like Okami, like almost all the enemies there are based off of like actual like yokai. Monster Hunter Rise, like they're kind of based off of yokai and like the way they're presented.
It's basically just their ghost stories, like what we have in the West with like haunted mansions and all that stuff.
Right, exactly. It's like supernatural folklore stuff going on. That said, the creatures, obviously it's kind of like Pokemon in that a lot of the creatures are cute, but then a lot of them are not or whatever. We'll talk about like generalities and general favorite yokai in a little bit, but unlike Pokemon, you're not capturing them. You beat them up and then they become your friend, maybe.
Yeah, you can feed them snacks, their favorite snacks, and then you increase the chances of them approaching you after the battle. There's also instances where they need your help, and you help them with a little side quest, and then they're so thankful that they're like, hey, I give you my medal. Like that's the thing, how you are summoning them. Not like, for example, with Pokemon with a Pokeball. You have this medal, you put it in your yokai watch, and then you're summoning them. They're basically not always with you. You just have like this coin that you're calling them with.
Right. Yeah, I like that system. We talked about this. We're gonna be talking about Pokemon a lot, probably, and comparing Yokai Watch to Pokemon. This game is way more, or these games are way more side quest oriented than Pokemon, and even from what little, I say little, but again, I watched you play 8 hours of Yokai Watch 2 yesterday, but even from these like little bits of the games I've seen, like there's so much, you get to see so much more of each yokai's like personality, even if it's only for a little bit. Then they exit the story or whatever, but like you still get to see their personality come through in a way that you just don't with Pokemon.
Yesterday, I even upset a yokai that was on my team. I summoned her to help out with a person that needed to get more stylish, like a schoolgirl, and her friend wanted her to be more stylish because she looked boring in her eyes.
Yeah.
To give her more confidence, and then it went wrong, and then that specific yokai was like, hey, you upset me, like don't ever summon me again, I'm not gonna help you.
Yeah, and again, to emphasize, like the yokai can basically be anything in this game. Like again, the mascot is Jibanyan, who's like this red cat, and he like just does like a flurry of punches as his main attack. Paws of Fury, that's good. The yokai Tosh was just talking about, it was like a moth. It was kind of like a fancy looking moth with like a, it looks like she's got like a mink shawl on, kind of, because she's very fashionable looking. And yeah, like they inhabit other characters or objects or whatever. A lot of stuff is like in the first game, there was a bit where this like weird, like muddy looking lady was like making your parents argue about something because that yokai was upset that her and her yokai husband were arguing or whatever, right?
Yeah, she was jealous.
Right.
They got along so well, so she inspirited them to fight.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's that kind of thing. Like it's from what I've seen, you'll have to correct me if I'm wrong. From what I've seen, the games don't get like super duper serious. I'm sure there are some more serious themes. Like I know you've talked about like Jibanyan has like a tragic backstory and stuff, but like on the surface, it's mostly presented as like pretty cartoony and very, very kid friendly, right?
Yeah.
And yeah, that makes sense. What with this, this was challenging Pokemon for dominance in this space back then, and for a little while, it actually did succeed. And unlike Pokemon, and this is kind of like the main differentiator to me, is the battle system. Unlike Pokemon, you don't directly control most of the yokai's actions in battle. It is mostly they're auto battling, right?
Yeah, they fight on their own, yeah.
Right. So what you're doing in battle is like there's a big wheel on the touch screen and you can rotate it around, and that is like moving your team around. So you have a team of 6 on you, but only 3 can be out at a time.
Yeah.
So then you want to rotate the wheel around, like when you like, hey, my healer needs to come out and heal someone, so let me rotate it around. But like you also need to like be cognizant of where everyone is placed on the wheel to know like when, okay, these two, like they're from the same tribe, so like they get boosts if they're both out at the same time, but they're not always going to be able to be out at the same time and stuff. Otherwise, besides rotating the wheel, the main thing you're doing is like activating their soultiments, and then that kind of brings up little touch screen related mini games like tracing or spinning a circle around or tapping. I know that among video gamers, like gamers with a capital G, there was a lot of like, why would I play this? Like, I don't like this battle system at the time because it's like auto battling and stuff. I know generally how you feel about the battle system, but like, tell me like, what are your thoughts on the battle system overall in terms of like what it allows the game to accomplish, like how it makes you feel, that kind of stuff.
I think, despite what everyone else thought, I mean, I don't know how many of these gamers actually played.
They probably played the demo and shut it down like me. It's probably what happened, yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very, very strategic. In the first game, maybe not as much yet, but yeah, in the second and especially in the third game, like, yeah, there's a lot of stuff you can do. You have to look out for, and you like it's way faster than for example Pokemon, where you just sit there and okay, what attack am I choosing now, like the classic turn-based battle system. But I feel it's Yokai Watch battle system is way faster, like you have to react super fast because the enemies also keep attacking you, right? And one of your yokai is low on health, like you said. You have to get your healer up there. Also, the fact that you don't know if she's or he's actually healing. Right. Because, they do it. They're deciding the stuff themselves, what they're doing. But there's also, like, books that you can give them to, like, change their attitude. Like, being more helpful, or being more calm, being more aggressive, and that's how you can like tweak that a little. So if you want a full-on healer, like, no, I want you to focus on just healing, then you need to find that book and give it to them. I just find it very, very interesting. I don't mind doing stuff on the touchpad. It's also not like that involved. No. I mean, the like having to rotate and circling can be sometimes a little annoying because you have to do it also fast. Because if you need the Sultimate, like the special attack to come out as fast, then you need to like he's gonna die. You
might be panicking because you're low on health and you're like, if I can get this out fast enough, it'll be over.
I like that it's in general that's a faster way to play like a game like that. Yeah.
I was shocked just how strategic it actually was. Because again, I played the demo again like a decade ago or near a decade ago, and my thought on it at the time was like, again, why would I want to play this? It's auto battle. Like that didn't appeal to me back then.
And you actually do more than you do with Pokemon.
Yeah, you do. You are more engaged in the battle than with Pokemon. But trying to explain that to someone, it just doesn't, I don't know. Like, so many gamers out there, and Seth and I make fun of people like this on this podcast all the time, of like, they take things so seriously, and it's like, if I'm not in control every step of the way, then like, what's the point? But like, for one, auto battlers have been a thing for a long time. Also, if I remember correctly from my time with the demo with Unicorn Overlord, that is also mostly an auto battler. Like, you're literally programming the game and the characters to do what you want. And that's one of the highest reviewed games of the year. I don't know what it is. I don't know if, like, Yokai Watch was just, like, a little too ahead of its time or something in that regard. But then again, maybe not, because it was a huge success in Japan and with children. Yeah. So maybe, like, for their audience, they knew exactly what they were doing and it was the right time for it. But, yeah, for whatever reason, it didn't latch on with like adult gamers. Apparently, I don't know. Yeah, I mean, it did with you.
They just want to sit there and click buttons, which is fine too. But yeah, then don't shit talk like something that is different and a little bit faster and a little bit more involved. Like, don't just say, oh, this is bad. Like, this is so different. I don't like it.
Right. And like I said, I was guilty of it too 10 years ago, that like I did play the demo and I just didn't, I'm like, okay, whatever. It's not for me kind of thing. Whereas now in the decade since, I do think I would have loved this even at the time if I'd sat down with it. And watching you play, like I said earlier, I'm like, damn, like I really feel like I missed out on something cool, especially because of how good the music is. Anyway, we got a couple more notes on like localization stuff before we get off to our next break. So as noted at the top of these notes, the release date was release dates were very drawn out. You know, there's a nearly 2.5 year difference between the Japan release date and the American release date. It wasn't until after the success of both Yokai Watch 1 and 2 that plans for localization for the first game were even put in motion. I will say, we talked about it a little bit. I remember the American release, it got pretty hyped up. Like, Nintendo was the publisher, and they really were pushing it at the time. I remember it was in their E3 presentation back then. I remember seeing the trailer and being like, oh, this is that Yokai Watch thing that's like popular with people on the internet. They also had a demo that I mentioned before. The anime also premiered on Disney XD a month before the game's release in 2015. And lastly, or I guess there's actually two lastlys, there was a 2DS bundle with the game, which I wasn't aware of. Also, they apparently, I didn't know this, they had a launch event at the Nintendo World Store in New York City. And then the Level 5 CEO, Akihiro Hano, actually showed up to like sign autographs and stuff.
Hino.
Oh, Hino? Tasha was right. We looked it up. It's Akihiro Hino. My bad. Last note I have here really for Yokai Watch 1 is this quote. I always love finding quotes from developers and stuff about their inspirations and like what the development process was like. I couldn't find much for Yokai Watch. Honestly, I'm kind of surprised. I'm sure there's plenty in Japan and maybe it's just not translated. I even looked up Shmuplations, which is where I get a lot of fan-translated interviews, but I couldn't find anything for Yokai Watch. But this is the Level 5 CEO, Akihiro Hino, on the inspiration behind Yokai Watch. We've created a lot of different IPs, and I figured it was about time that we made something like Doraemon that could be loved by many people over a long period of time. That was the start of it. I researched what would give something appeal and longevity, and pondered what would be relatable to people, and developed the open-world RPG that children could play, Yokai Watch. I think the title's popularity is the fruits of trial and error. I mostly put that in here because, for one, you like Doraemon a lot. I mean, you've never really seen the anime, though, right? But you just like the character and stuff?
Yeah, I have a manga, which is even like to learn for Japanese people to learn English, so I can actually read it. Like, there's the Japanese characters and letters, but also it's in English. And then, with the Story of Seasons game, I really got into it.
Yeah, you were very into both those Doraemon Story of Seasons.
And again, it's just that slice of life stuff again, and the goofiness and the charm of it.
Yeah, I was very shocked to see that directly cited as a source of inspiration.
It makes a lot of sense.
It does, but I never would have connected those dots, but it makes perfect sense seeing it spelled out like that. But do you have any stray thoughts on Yokai Watch 1 before we move on to our break?
I guess it's the the whole series, I don't know, I look the fondest upon because it's so, I don't know, it was the first one, and it's just like so much simpler than the others.
Right.
But that's what I like about it a lot.
Mm-hmm. I mean, yeah. Like I said, I know that Switch port of 1 is like one of your most requested things, and every time Level 5 does one of their presentations or any direct, you're always like, oh god, please let that Yokai Watch remaster be there.
I think, we talked about it in one of your other podcasts or something. I think I mentioned that before, that I would be fine if they would just put it out digitally. I don't even need the physical, just put it on the eShop. That would be amazing.
It's weird. It's weird. Level 5, we'll talk about Level 5 a little bit more later on the show, I think. But anyway, that section went a little longer than I was expecting. We're going to go on a break for Groovalicious Hustle and Infinite Tunnel, both from Yokai Watch 2, and we will be right back. Once again, that was Groovalicious Hustle and Infinite Tunnel from Yokai Watch 2. Once again, with that bass line in Groovalicious Hustle, while you were at work the other day, I was kind of panicking because I'm like, we haven't done as much like notes and whatever on the Yokai Watch series as I wanted to at this point. So I was kind of getting concerned. So I was like doing a whole bunch of things at once. I was vacuuming while listening to the Yokai Watch 2 soundtrack. And then these two songs on the official soundtrack play back to back. And I couldn't get over it. I was losing my mind. I can't decide between these two which is my favorite of...
You texted me.
Yeah. I literally was messaging you at work. I was like, yo, what is up with Groovalicious Hustle in Yokai Watch 2? Yeah, you didn't remember where it played, and then when you were playing Yokai Watch 2 last night, you stumbled into like a rhythm mini game thing going on. That you didn't play this song in it yet, but that's apparently where it plays.
It was a different song, yeah.
Which that song was also good from what I heard, but it was no Groovalicious Hustle. Also, that game seemed way harder than I was expecting out of a Yokai Watch minigame.
Yeah, it's touch screen based again, and then there's these little like gold spirits that come out of the center, and you have to move the stylus to where they go, like in the direction, like it's a clock basically. But you also have to tap, like there's like waves of rings coming out of the center, and you have to tap at the right time, and then it gets faster and faster, and more like of these spirit balls, and it gets hard.
It's almost kind of like the Arkanoid, like the old arcade Arkanoid, where you're kind of like zipping around like a circle, you know, but on a touch screen. Honestly, you did a really good job describing that minigame, because I was just going to leave it and it's just a rhythm minigame. So hats off to you for that one, dear. I really love that song. The fact that it was made. I love in video games when they make crazy songs for mini games, you know, like,
and there's a lot of mini games in the Yokai Watch games.
Yeah, you know, and especially after 1, it seems like immediately in 2 they ramped that way up, you know, which is fun. When it comes to Infinite Tunnel, I don't have that many thoughts on it. It's funny, we were talking about it a little while we were listening on the break to remind ourselves of the songs. You compared it to like Anodyne music or from Melos Hantani over at Analgesic Productions, and that is why I love this song so much. Like, it seems like something like right out of like Anodyne or Symphony or something. It's just so funny hearing Groovalicious Hustle, and then the next song is this on the official soundtrack, because like it got like Groovalicious Hustle, I was ready to like put on roller skates and go skate off into the sunset, and then this song started. It just made me like contemplative and like kind of like, oh yeah, you know. I'll be honest, maybe it's because I'm not familiar with these soundtracks in the same way I have been with like all the other soundtracks we've covered. I always like getting surprised when we're doing stuff like this, but I don't get that opportunity very often. These two songs specifically, I mean the whole soundtracks entirely, but these two songs specifically, very high up, like my favorite songs that we've had on this show, period. And when I say that, we've had over 420 songs covered on the show in 14 episodes.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah, so, I mean, thank you for coming on the show and getting me to listen to Yokai Watch music more thoroughly and watching you play Yokai Watch. Did you have any other things you wanted to say about either of those songs?
No.
Okay. Let's get into our notes here. We're working on kind of a time limit. My wife does not want to do a 3-hour podcast, which I can't blame her. I also don't really want to do it through. Yeah, no, I don't blame you. But I think we're through kind of the bulk of the stuff. Mostly it's just a bunch of like notes about Yokai Watch 2 now. We've covered the generalities. So anyway, Yokai Watch 2, much like Pokemon, was released in 2 separate versions at the time. Unlike Pokemon, these names are absolutely deranged. Yokai Watch 2, Bony Spirits and Fleshy Souls.
Yeah.
Were you team Bony Spirits or Fleshy Souls?
Because it's the German name, I'm not sure. I think, well, if it's based on souls, kräftige Seelen in German, then yeah.
That sounds like Bony Spirits to me.
Or that.
Because Kraftiga, like strength,
okay.
right? Yeah.
Yeah, then I had that one.
Okay. So your team.
But I also bought it's just like Pokemon, there's going to be a 3rd version at the end, like a definitive edition. I also bought that one. So.
Yeah, I will say, if I had been in on this back then, I would have been Bony Spirits, because Fleshy Souls sounds absolutely disgusting to me. That, like, I just, in the end of Akira, when he's turned into like the giant like blob monster, that's what Fleshy Souls makes me think of, like the giant psychic ball of skin.
And then the 3rd version also had a ridiculous name in German, Geistige Geister, which is just like, ghostly ghosts. So.
I think I have it written down here in English somewhere. It's like, psychic specters, I think is...
That sounds a little less...
That sounds normal.
Weird, yeah.
Also much better than Fleshy Souls. Anyway, Yokai Watch 2, this was a direct sequel to Yokai Watch 1, as the name would imply. It was released for the 3DS, released July 10th, 2014 in Japan, so like exactly a year later. September 30th, 2016 in America, and April 7th, 2017 in Europe. The 2 different versions were mostly done for marketing purposes. Again, Akihiro Hino, this quote is from, "When playing the first Yokai Watch, I already thought to release the sequel as 2 different versions. Children like having things that other people don't have, so from a marketing perspective, having 2 versions is a good idea. Also, a lot of people play Yokai Watch with their parents, where people would have some hesitation about getting 2 copies of the same game. If you have different versions, it's a lot easier to buy both." That makes sense to me. I know a lot, especially in America, a lot of people viewed Pokemon releasing multiple versions as like a scam. Like, oh, they just want you to buy both. Like, no, I think it is sincere that
they... supposed to, that you just buy both of them.
You as one person were not intended to buy... Now, obviously, Nintendo doesn't mind if you do, but truly, it comes down to, like, people just really feel like they're always having to defend themselves. Like, they're always trying to defend themselves from getting one pulled over on them, and I think that extends to this, like, I'm not going to buy 2 versions of the same game. Okay, then don't. That's fine. It's just interesting that, like, because this happened a lot back then, and even before this, like, Pokemon was kind of the start of this, but then you even had things like Mega Man Battle Network started releasing in 2 separate versions, and I think like Metabots and stuff, those all released in multiple versions, I assume all for similar reasons. As we mentioned before, it received a 3rd version, Psychic Specters, later on. I did try and like look up like a succinct difference between the 3rd version and the first 2. According to GameFAQs user New Leaf Helper 17, which is very cute because they're on this 3DS GameFAQs board. So clearly they were mostly helping with New Leaf, but then they also were into Yokai Watch. So maybe this is you, actually. Maybe this is your secret GameFAQs account.
I won't tell.
Okay, thanks. So New Leaf Helper 17 says, Psychic Specters adds the ability to befriend the elite Wickeds, the ability to befriend the other 10 Wickeds, a few new bosses, head of steam, kabuking, etc. It also allows you to link the other 2 games to befriend the Onis after the expansion thing. And there's also like yokai like Illuminact and Darky Ubi that are also exclusive to it. Now, I know you play the German versions of these games, but do any of those names mean anything to you? Because that is all complete gibberish from my perspective.
Not really. Besides, like, Wicked Yokai, there's, like, a specific type. Just, like, we talk about it later, I guess, in 3 with the American versions and stuff. I think that's what that was. Like, it's just a bunch of yokai that you couldn't befriend yet.
Yeah.
And then in the 3rd version, you were able to.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense. worth noting, Yokai Watch 2 was the peak of the series from a commercial standpoint and a sales standpoint. I did not know this fact until doing this research. Yokai Watch 2 was the highest selling games, not just in the series, but also the best selling games in Japan of 2014. To put that into perspective, Pokemon Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire and Monster Hunter 4 Ultimate also came out in 2014. Mm-hmm. So Yokai Watch literally was selling more than Pokemon and Monster Hunter, which that's pretty insane to think about even back then. But nowadays, like that's literally unfathomable. Mm-hmm. But I thought that was a very interesting note. It also had a limited edition Jibanyan 3DS XL.
Oh yeah.
Are you familiar with it?
Yeah, I think I saw it.
I looked it up earlier. It was mostly white with a bunch of like gray silhouettes of other yokai, and then in like the lower left corner on the front, there's like a excited Jibanyan, and then on the back there's like a sleeping Jibanyan. It looked very, very cute. Also had an actual Yokai Watch toy manufactured at the time, like an actual wearable Yokai Watch that you could wear.
With sounds and stuff.
Yeah. I have this note from Wikipedia. Many different lines of toys were manufactured, the most notable of which are models of the Yokai Watch itself, which became one of the best-selling and fastest-selling toys in Japan. The watch, which can be used interactively with separately sold yokai medals, was notable for its constant sell-out of stock and difficulty in finding and obtaining. The short supply of the toy had prompted high second-hand sales of the watch through online auction sites such as eBay, and also caused retailers such as Toys R Us to adopt a raffle ticket system to sell the product. Also, there was McDonald's tie-ins. I have this note here from Wikipedia again. Bandai Namco, they were like the merchandise partner for Yokai Watch, have reported having earned 10 billion yen, equivalent to $93 million, off Yokai Watch toy lines alone from April to September 2014. Japanese chart and statistics company Oricron named the Yokai Watch brand the second best-selling in 2014, behind only Disney's Frozen. And that was like the peak of Frozen. Yeah, wow. So to really emphasize, like, because again, I have a hunch that most people listening to this podcast probably are not familiar with Yokai Watch at all. I have a hunch most people listening to this podcast probably skew older, older as in our age, you know. Yeah. So, but this is to really hammer home, like, just how much of a phenomenon that Yokai Watch really was back then. Also, it was getting all kinds of, like, tie-ins with other video games at the time. My favorite was the Final Fantasy XIV crossover stuff. I don't know exactly when that came about, but it probably was around this time period. You could get, like, Jibanyan and Whisper, like, dudes following you in Final Fantasy XIV. You and I played Final Fantasy XIV for one weekend when we were bored, and I didn't want to lose my life to an MMO, so I kind of quit cold turkey immediately. But when we were wandering around, we did see like people with Jibanyans on their shoulder, and it looked pretty cool. Also, that extended the other way as well, in that there was Final Fantasy stuff in, was it Yokai Watch 2 or 3 that had, it was 3. I'll just mention it here since we're talking about it. There was a Chocobo Jibanyan, and it's literally just Jibanyan riding a Chocobo. Chocobo Nyan. And then there was a Moogle Nyan, which that one is more of like a fusion of Moogle and Jibanyan. I quite like it. As a big fan of Moogles, that was like one of the first major introductions I had to Jibanyan at the time, and I thought that was cute. So I do want to talk a little bit about what your thoughts are on Yokai Watch 2, both at the time and now that you've replayed it a fair bit here, because to me you always kind of imply that Yokai Watch 2 is your least favorite of them, but is that just because you played it so close to 1, or is it just sticks out the least to you, or what?
Yeah, I don't know specifically or what exactly it was. I mean, yeah, obviously I didn't play 3 yet. So yeah, I did like 2 a little more than 1. But yeah, when I sat on it for a little while longer, I was like, no, I think like my heart beats more for 1 still. What I liked about 2 a lot is that you like time travel into the past, like to old Japan, and the main thing of the game is that because all of the yokai, there are like new designs or like goofy and more cartoony versions of the originals, like the actual folklore in Japan. And then, when you travel to old Japan in the game, there's like the classic yokai, like what we talked about earlier, like that umbrella with the one leg, and also they look a little more simple. And among like Whisper is freaking out among the newer yokai in the present, they're like legends and celebrities. That's what I like about it a lot, about 2.
From my perspective, seeing you play 2 so much yesterday, it was just like a bigger and better version of 1 from like a gameplay
double or even like a little bit more than double the size, I would say. Like just the map or the places you can go.
Right, like the subway system actually seemed insane from watching you play last
also
night.
Because I'm always saying it reminds me a lot of the Boku no Natsuyasumi games, is also that all of these games are playing in the main character's summer vacation. And I think now that I think about it, in 2 they definitely do a little bit better job of giving you that feeling, because he's like traveling to his grandma on the countryside and you're actually sitting on the train, getting there. Like it captures the summer vacation feeling a little better.
Yeah, from what I saw you play of 1, the main thing that's like implying summer vacation is like the bug catching, and like there's references to like homework and stuff, but like 2, like you said, it immediately is kind of digging in more there. Like the first major dungeon you were doing was like in your school in the summertime, so like it's, for one, it's night, and then like the chairs are stacked and whatever. It's empty. There's a giant skeleton on the roof and stuff. And like you said, you're visiting your grandma, and the subway system is like genuinely insane. Like you actually had to like look at the subway map.
Well, train, it's not subway.
Yeah, sorry.
Like a normal train.
Yeah, so I just, as a dumb American growing up in the Midwest, I understand subway is literally like a subterranean train, but I just kind of use it in place of trains.
Like long-distance trains.
Yeah. So sorry. It just trains.
Okay.
But either way, the map system is insane. Like you actually were having to like read the map on your 3DS and
where you have to get out,
right,
to not miss the station, where you had to get off, and then the announcers even saying next station, blah blah blah, and there's yokai walking by, they want to battle you, and there's like little events happening, or the main character Keita is his, I think Nate is his English name. He's talking to Whisper in Japan. They're like accompanying him. Is that a word?
Yeah.
And they're talking about stuff, and it's very cute, and you can see like through the window how the landscape is changing from like a city to getting more rural and countryside-ish. It's very Boku no Natsuyasumi.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It is that moment watching you do that last night was like my favorite thing I've seen in like a 3DS game in a very long time. Like it was just cool. Like it just felt like I've not seen that in many games period, but especially like on a 3DS and stuff. Like I can see why it really captured the imagination of like children specifically, like not just Japanese children, but as I learned while going through YouTube comments, it was slim pickings for YouTube comments this episode. A lot of it was just like people being like, oh, nostalgia, my childhood. And then again, that makes me feel old because it was not my childhood at all. But that stuff just seems really special in a way that like you don't see. And again, 10 years ago, I don't know if like all of that would have hit for me the same way. Like, I don't know if I would have appreciated it the same way. The same way that like Majora's Mask, The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask, if I had tried playing that when it came out, I would have hated that game. Whereas like I waited till I was like older and then I played it and like, wow, this is like one of the coolest video games ever made, even if there's a lot of stuff that's like annoying about it, like even that subway that took a little bit longer than it probably should have, but it was still cool. It was still cool that they did all that.
the thing also is it's not just that one sequence. Like you can use the train again. Like you just buy a ticket, hop in, and then there's like about, I would say, like 20 something stations, and you can get off on all of these. And there's some of them are smaller, like the maps are smaller. Some of these places are bigger, and there's new yokai, there's new little side quests, there are things going on. You can get out and leave the train on all of these stations and explore stuff.
Yeah. It kind of reminds you of like Wind Waker, like exploring the islands on the ocean and stuff. Yeah, it's just cool. Real quick, before we take our next break, we probably could have talked about it in the Yokai Watch 1 section, but Jibanyan, the series mascot, has like a billion different forms across the series. Like there's one where he just has like an airplane coming out of him for some reason. Jetnyan, yeah. 2 specifically was the one that introduced the Jibanyans that were modeled after fruit. So they're just called like fruit nyans, or is that, do you have any favorite forms of Jibanyan? Not just in 2, not just the fruit nyans, but like in general, if you just felt like we talk about it here.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Shogunyan.
That's like the samurai looking one, right?
Yeah, he's a legendary one, and you have to unlock him like in your Yokai Watch or Yokai Medallion, where you collect all the medals from the yokai. You have to like catch or befriend specific yokai to unlock the seals on these pages. I don't know how many they are, maybe like 9 or 10. And then you automatically get that legendary yokai. At least that's how it was in the first. I think it's also how it was in the second game. And he's just he's a legendary. Just compare it to, the legendaries in Pokemon. Yeah. He's very strong. He's very good. Very cool. Okay. He's just like a samurai.
You have like a little figure of him in that cabinet, don't you? I think I see him over there.
Yeah, I do.
We've got a lot of Yokai Watch merchandise around the house, yeah.
And then I also really like Sailor Nyan. She's basically like a Sailor Moon version with a little sailor uniform, and she's a healer. She's very useful and very cute. What else? What about you? I
mean, we talked about it. I really like out of the fruit nyans, I really love the orange one. I don't know exactly why, but the orange, I mean, oranges are one of my favorite fruits, but the orange nyan, I don't know, the color scheme, because when we say they're modeled after fruits, like, it's not just like the colors, it's also like he has like orange rind looking marks on him, you know? Yeah. It's not just like he's orange. Like there's a kiwi one, and like he actually has. It looks like he's got some fuzz on him that he normally doesn't have. I really like all of the fruit nyans, if I'm being honest. But yeah, for whatever reason, that orange nyan has always stuck out to me. You know, I again never played any of these games, but I had the orange nyan as like my Twitter profile picture for years, if I remember correctly. He just looks goofy with that orange form specifically. I think his name is Robo Nyan. He's just like a robot version.
I'm also a big fan of Robo Nyan. He's also very cool. He is more tanky. And the lore is, he is like the other Jibanyans are just other versions of Jibanyan, but Robo Nyan is actually Jibanyan from the future. And then I just really love normal Jibanyan in the story, like the story one. You can get more Jibanyans later.
We've said Jibanyan so many times.
Because we mentioned it earlier, because of his like tragic and very sad backstory. He's just very sweet and fun. He can also be a little jerk. I mean, just like cats. People who have cats know that. He's sometimes very lazy and just doesn't want to do stuff when you summon him to a battle. Like there's sometimes like story-related things where he's like just falling asleep immediately. And Nate is like, hey, I need your help. But, he just doesn't wanna. So I really, really like just normal Jibanyan also.
What's the one called? He looks like a greaser. He's got a big pompadour and a motorcycle.
Bedinyan. I mean, people know Waruiji, which is a pun on in Japanese. Bad is Warui. And then Bedinyan, his name is Warunyan, which also all these names sound very cool. And yeah, you fuse him. Like, there's also fusions. There's a fusion system in Yokai Watch. You can, not all of them, but some specific yokai you can fuse with each other. And yeah, there's like this greasy, shady, I don't know.
Biker gang.
Yeah, yokai. What was his name? I don't know his English name. But yeah, you fuse him with Jibanyan, and then he turns into Badinyan.
That's pretty cool. Yeah. Were there any other Jabanyans you want to shout out, or other stray thoughts on Yokai Watch 2 before we take our next break?
No, I think I said everything I wanted.
Okay, good. Our next break then is for DJ KJ in the Club Japanese version and versus Funky Yokai, both from Yokai Watch 3, and we will be right back. And that was DJ KJ in the Club, Japanese version, and versus Funky Yokai. Tell me a little bit about DJ KJ in the Club, because I know there's like a storyline kind of going on with that yokai character.
Okay, so besides Jibanyan and Whisper, like I just realized we didn't really talk about Whisper at all, but he's kind of like the most important.
Yeah, I realized that in the last section too. Yeah.
Like the main character is like Yokai Butler. He's like the Navi, the navigator. He's helping you with everything. He's not on your team at all. Later in the later games he is, but yeah, he's kind of just like Navi and Zelda or whatever. Okay, now I lost my train of thought. Jibanyan, what was I?
You said there were 3 yokai.
Oh, yeah. And then there's a third one, Komasan. He's like at temples you see these statues. They're like kind of like dogs, lion dogs, like in Japanese folklore.
Like in Pokemon Legends Arceus, the Growlithe, the Hisuian Growlithe,
He's like a white... I mean, most people think he's a cat, but he's not. He's like like I said, a lion dog. And he is like traveling a lot. Like his gimmick is like you meet him all over the place, and he's like always very amazed at new things that he sees. And in Yokai Watch 3, he wants to become a DJ.
Naturally.
Yeah. And then when you go to New Yokai City, like where all the yokai live. I guess we also didn't talk about that yet. Like there's this place where yokai live, like they have their own society and everything like that going on. And there's like this capital where they hang out. Yokai City or New Yokai City. And there's a club. You go in and... Yeah, the first time I got in there, I heard that song. He's actually on stage performing, and there's a bunch of other yokai. Like, you hear it in the song, like clapping. I was like, what? Because this is definitely like one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, this is like the one thing you demanded. Seth and I talk about demands all the time on the show. Yeah. This was your one demand this episode.
And it's actually like a funky disco remix of Komasan's theme, which is like very, you can hear it here still, like very traditional Japanese sounding.
Very mystical ninja.
And they did a remix with this, and I just love it. It's very good.
Yeah, it's cute. It's very, I'll have his original theme playing behind us so you can hear it, but it's just a very cute, it's very, DJ KK from Animal Crossing. It's doing that. It's just taking a beloved previous theme and then turning it into like a funky disco club mix. It was very cute. When it comes to versus Funky Yokai, I just felt like we had to have this. This is like the main battle theme, or one of the main battle themes from 3, right?
Yeah.
We'll talk about it a little bit, but half of Yokai Watch 3 takes place in America, and there's a lot of the way they represent America in this is very, very like America viewed through the lens of Japanese people. But I like that. I'm not trying to make fun of it. I think it's awesome.
It's almost like a lovingly made like parody.
Right.
Like in the very beginning, like the funny thing about Yokai Watch 3 is that there's like a version of Mulder and Scully from X-Files.
Yeah.
And it starts with like a UFO or a comet, they don't really know what it is, crashing down, and they are like investigating on that. That is in there. Then there's like the corn circle things, or what are they called?
Crop circles.
Yeah. There's Huckleberry Finn.
Japanese people love Huckleberry Finn and Tom Sawyer.
You build a raft. There's barbecue. Like one of the first things when the family of the main character is in America. They're having a barbecue.
It's the land is even called like BBQ, I think, in the English version of the game. It's goofy as hell. Most of the new American yokai are based off of food.
It's
junk food and just even just stuff like corn. My favorite yokai is corn fused, and it's literally just a corn cob with a face, and he confuses people.
Yeah, he also appears in a cornfield. That's why you can befriend him. Yeah.
That's good. Before we just do the generalities of Yokai Watch 3, you did mention like the pop culture references with the X-Files. There's a few of these, right? Like there's also Ghostbusters with the yokai blasters. There's also Star Wars with Darth Vader and Invader mode.
The Godfather, because there's the Ghoul Father. Like there's a lot of like puns and play on words in it with the yokai, and yeah. Oh, the main thing I didn't even mention yet. There is a version of Steve Jobs.
I don't think you've ever told me this.
He's a shark. I think he's a shark yokai. And he is making a new yokai watch, which is, the Apple Watch thing. Or what was it called? iWatch?
I think it's Apple Watch, yeah.
Yeah. Either way. They do stuff like that with it, and yeah, it is very, very good. There's so many like references and puns and fun stuff in this game. And yeah, I mentioned how Yokai Watch 2 has so much more content than 1. 3, like, it's insane how much content is in this game. And yeah, it's also my favorite. It's not like that it's too much, or it's in its way, in its own way. Yeah. It's fun. Like it's good.
Right. Well, so correct me if I'm wrong. Yokai Watch, or is it just Yokai Blasters? Yokai Watch Blasters, that came out between 2 and 3, right? Like the standalone, the spin-off came out between 2 and 3, I think, because then there's a mini Blasters mode even in 3.
I think in Germany at least, I think Blasters was after 3.
Okay.
Oh, and also there are also 2 versions of Yokai Watch 3, Sushi and Tempura. But in the West, they decided to not release those because it was already not selling as well anymore. Right. They also didn't print or produce as many physical copies of the game, which it was sold out super fast and people were not able to get it anymore, and now it's like over 100 or something on Amazon. I
think it might be well over that. I think what I was seeing is that it's cited as one of the most expensive 3DS games to get nowadays. I guess real quick, let's go over the generalities since we kind of all are all over the place on this one. This is the final mainline 3DS entry in the series. It was released July 16th, 2016 in Japan, so a 2-year interval between 2 and 3. December 7th, 2018 in Europe, and then February 8th, 2019 in America. You and I were talking about this a little when we got back from the grocery store earlier, but like you are saying that like you think Yokai Watch was more popular in Europe, specifically France and Spain, I think you were saying, than in a lot of other places. And I feel like those release dates kind of bear that out because Europe went from getting these games nearly 3 years late to now America is getting them later than Europe, I mean, maybe that's saying more about like America's disinterest in Yokai Watch. I don't know, but I do think you see some kind of like shifting business stuff happening there that's interesting. We talked a little bit about this, but yeah, the main like story differentiator is that the game is split between taking place in Japan and America.
They also introduced a new character, a female, and another female character, Haley Ann. And Haley Ann is in Japan, in the Japan portion of the game, and then you switch to Nate, back to Nate, and he's in America. And then later in the game, they even meet, and you can just teleport freely between these two places. Yeah, it's very good. Oh, and they introduce also a new mascot, I guess, Usapion, which he looks like a bunny or a rabbit from space. He's not. Spoiler. He's an otter. Just his helmet, like his suit, has like bunny ears. Yeah, he's very, very cute.
Yeah, he's like the Jibanyan for the Haley Ann, right? Basically, I always got the sense the way he was being pushed is that he was meant to be like a new mascot. Like, again, this is conjecture. but I just get the sense that like maybe they were thinking about like retiring some of the old yokai, and that Usepjon was going to come in and be like the new wave of yokai. You know, that's just the feeling I get. It just felt like they were trying to refresh the yokai characters at this point.
Yeah, he also got his own DLC for Yokai Watch Blasters, the Moon Rabbit crew.
Is he one of your favorites, I assume?
Yeah.
Because you got that big like plushie up there that Cookie knocks down sometimes. Yeah, he's very cute. He's just like Tosh said, he's a big blue bunny looking thing with a yellow astronaut suit.
And yeah, his backstory is also very, very sad. He was like, what is it called in English? Like a test animal. Like they did tests with him, and he was just a little otter. I think that's also how he died. But yeah, his owner back then in the laboratory felt very bad about it and was trying to save him. And he wants to see him again, and that's like the story that is going on with him.
Yeah, it's funny from what you told me. Like, a lot of these backstories for the yokai get tragic. I mean, I guess it makes sense because they're ghosts.
Yeah.
There would be some of that in here. I did have a note here that in the American version, because the games, when they were localized, all three of them, they were already taking place in America as opposed to Japan. You know, like they localized Yokai Watch 1 and 2 as you were in America already. So in 3, they're saying that the American portion, you're just in like the South. Like you're in a different region of America. I just thought that was funny. Okay. I always think it's funny, like when Phoenix Wright got localized, they localized that as you're in America, you know, even though people are dressed up in like traditional like temple garb and stuff. But no, we're in America though. Cheeseburgers, you know, like it's goofy stuff like that. Also just realized, we're very all over the place. Forgot to mention in the Versus Funky Yokai song, there's just a full-on banjo solo in there, which is very good. But that's also just to emphasize the Americanness, or like the perceived Americanness of this game. There's even a banjo in like the logo for Yokai Watch 3, but we kind of covered all the stuff I have written down about like Usepjon and stuff. The game did have multiple major free updates added to it over time, but again, I think these were all integrated into the Western release of the game, but most of this amounted to new dungeons and yokai, though also in the first major update, that was when it had the Yokai Watch Blasters minigame added to it. Again, I know you don't want to spend too much time talking about this, but you love blasters, right? Like the standalone blasters, and you said it's a dungeon crawler.
Yeah, it's basically a dungeon crawler. It's action oriented, and it's not like, I guess maybe they wanted to do something similar with what Pokemon did with the Pokemon Mystery Dungeons, but that's also like turn-based, you know, right? Like you. Yeah. Yeah. But here it's more action, like you run around and you have your attacks, and you directly control the yokai in this case. Yeah.
So Yokai Watch, to me, the main Yokai Watch exposure I'd had prior to this week was Blasters must have come out like shortly before you came to America one of the times to visit me, because I do remember you playing a ton of Blasters on one of your trips to America, and I remember you showing me
on the way back, I think it was, because it came at the end when
I remember you specifically like showing me stuff of the Whisper that looks like the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man being the final boss or whatever. Yeah. I specifically remember you showing me that, but I don't know. Maybe my timeline is all mixed up. I just remember that was the first time I really started paying more attention to Yokai Watch, seeing how much you were enjoying Blasters on 3DS at the time. So it's cool that there was like a mini version of it that they just stuck inside of 3.
Mm-hmm. It's rather big also. I mean, obviously much smaller than the actual game, but it's very involved.
Right, yeah. And that just, again, it speaks to like just how big 3 seems to be. Like it seems like they really were like we're going for it. You know, again, there's only a year between Yokai Watch 1 and 2, but there are 2 between 2 and 3. It's like they spent the time cramming in like everything they could. And unfortunately, it didn't really seem to pan out for him, because this sold worse than 1 and 2 in Japan. And there are no solid numbers for outside Japan, but it is seemingly not good considering the fact that 4 never got localized. So 3 was kind of the beginning and the end of the beginning of the end and the end of Yokai Watch, kind of, at least outside Japan. Do you have any thoughts about why that is? Why did it collapsed kind of everywhere, even Japan?
I mean, I don't really know why exactly. I have no idea, but I just see a lot of people are saying that the marketing was just bad. I don't know how exactly. But yeah, I mean, there must be something going on, or maybe people were just tired of it at this point. I mean, I'm not. And a lot of people, the fan base is still pretty big. People want, every single time on Twitter I see Akihiro Hino posting something like, Yokai Watch, when's the next Yokai Watch? And why do we not get Yokai Watch 4? So there is still a lot of people that want it, but yeah, I guess they don't see
a market for it.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they see it in some degree because, they are at least a little bit trying to connect that Holy Horror Mansion to Yokai Watch, at least with the Jibanyan logo that they had at the start or whatever. I mean, the game seems very different all around, not just the battle system, but also the general vibe and stuff. It seems very, very different, but it also seemed pretty cool. I don't know if you had any thoughts about the recently announced Holy Horror Mansion, but
I mean, yeah, I don't watch it as obviously, yeah, it's not Yokai Watch. That I guess that's also why a lot of people were disappointed. I mean, some people are, oh, this is the replacement for Yokai Watch. I don't want to 100% believe that. I hope there's gonna be another Yokai Watch at some point, also for the West and not just for Japan. I still hope. Who knows? Maybe when Level 5 is finally getting out some of their games, that they also think, okay, maybe now we could bring back, or we could release Yokai Watch 4. But yeah, I don't know. We have to see, because there's so much weird stuff going on with Level 5.
Right. They just seem kind of like a mess of a company right now. And yeah, my thoughts on the sales collapsing, I have no idea why they collapsed in Japan. I truly don't know.
In the West, it kind of makes more sense, but why did it also happen in Japan? Yeah.
Right. Because what you have to keep in mind was Yokai Watch 3 came out well after the Switch was out in Europe and America, whereas in Japan it came out way before the Switch was out. So, you saw, I think it surprised even Nintendo just how fast software sales collapsed on the 3DS after the Switch came out. I mean, it literally bankrupted Alpha Dream, the Mario and Luigi developers, It surprised everyone, I think. So again, from a Western perspective, I understand why Yokai Watch 3 just didn't really make an impact. But yeah, I truly, it would be interesting to know, but again, I couldn't find much about it. It's just speculation and whatever. I don't know if time just it just turned into, it was a fad, I guess, but what makes this a fad versus Pokemon, which stuck around for so long,
Also because it was so big, you talked about it earlier, what a phenomenon it kind of was, and then all of a sudden not anymore. It's kind of confusing to me.
Yeah, I would love to, if anyone has any insight into why Yokai Watch has kind of collapsed in Japan specifically.
Or it's just random.
Yeah. It just happened, yeah. Do you have any stray thoughts, on Yokai Watch 3 or the series in general, being that we're sort of at the end, at least, of the Yokai Watch talk?
I mean, yeah, also now replaying 1 and 2, now I'm very excited to play 3. And now talking about it again, I definitely like 3 the most. Not just because there's so much content in it, it's just so much fun, and the stories are the pacing is just very fun, and the stories and the new yokai, the American yokai are fun, and yeah, that's basically what I have to say about it.
From my perspective, it was very fun to just watch, because you've been talking about replaying these games for years at this point. So again, we talked about it at the top of the show, but it was just nice to give you an excuse to do that. It's been very fun watching you be excited about Yokai Watch and whatever again, because you haven't had an excuse to be excited about Yokai Watch in a long time. Speaking of the American yokais, for our final break this episode, We've got versus American Yokai and New Yokai City, once again, both from Yokai Watch 3, and we will be right back. and that was Versus American Yokai and New Yokai City, both from Yokai Watch 3. You were very excited about Versus American Yokai.
Yeah. I think it's one of my favorite battle themes of the whole series. I was just talking about how it's good that these battle themes are that energetic, I guess I would call them, because like I said earlier, the battle system is so fast and you kind of need that. Like, it's fun, like it's making you even more what was the word, giddy,
sure,
and what am I gonna do, I have to hurry, and I don't know, that helps keeping you awake. I guess.
No, I get what you mean. I never get sick of these either. Again, I've heard a lot of these battle themes in the past week, and I don't get sick of them.
They're just so much fun. I don't know.
Yeah.
That's how I can describe them the best, I guess. They're just fun.
Yeah. I like that this one also brought the banjo back. It's cool. It starts off as very... it sounds like getting up to something music. That's one of my favorite subgenres of music we talk about on the show all the time, and then... But all of a sudden there's a banjo. How can you be getting up to something if there's a banjo? Everyone's going to hear you coming from a mile away. I really like this one a lot. I think this was one of my demands, actually. But apparently it was also one of your demands, so we both demanded it. Did you have any notes on New Yokai City?
Yeah, that one is also amazing. The first time I got to New Yokai City and that song was playing, I was just standing, was like, whoa, it's so cool. It's just playing in a town. You hear that song while just walking around in it. I love how chiptune-y it is.
Yeah.
It's so cool.
Again, I haven't seen you play 3 yet. I'm looking forward to it. I'm glad that even though the podcast is done, you're still gonna play some 3 because I want to see it, I just like how much of 3's soundtrack that I've heard is very getting up to something music. And
I guess we didn't mention yet that the battle system in 3 is completely changed. Well, not completely, it's still the yokai battling on their own, but it's not a wheel anymore that you turn around. You have what was it called?
A grid.
Yeah, it's a grid, but it has a name, the yokai metal board. I think it's what it's called in the game.
Okay.
It's a 3x3 grid, and you still have your 6 yokai, but now you're not rotating them anymore. You have kind of even more freedom, and there's more depth to it and more strategicness. You can freely move the medals around. Well, not completely freely. There needs to be room. You have to watch out that there's room. Kind of these, what are they called? These puzzles.
Oh, just sliding tile puzzles. Yeah. In Resident Evil games. Yeah.
Yeah, a little like that. I mean, you have a little bit more room. It's not full. Because there's just 3 medals there, and you have your other 3 yokai being on the bench, and then you just swap them in, and it's a lot of fun. The battle system in 3 is also my favorite. A lot of people were like, why did they change that? I don't like it that much, but no, I think it's amazing.
I mean, we talked about it earlier today, but people just get, especially gamers, get very...
They always are oh, this is stale, make something new, and then they get something new, and it's
why'd you change it?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I know all about that with the gamers. With that said, are you ready to move on to the fan favorite YouTube comment oversharing corner?
Sure.
Much less enthusiastic than Seth usually is about moving into the YouTube comments. As a reminder, this is the section of the show where we read off any funny or memorable or interesting or insane comments we've stumbled across while grabbing songs for this episode. I mentioned earlier, I couldn't find that many good comments on this one, so this won't take too long. We'll just kind of blast through. But first up, we've got YouTube user The Deadly Pizza Guy 8236 commented on Infinite Tunnel 7 months ago. This freaked me out too much as a kid. I only added this in here just because, again, you were playing this in your 30s and this dude was playing this as a kid,
I understand. There is some, like you said, it's the most of it is cartoony, but still there's some spooky situations, and definitely.
Also, that song is that's why I like it so much, because it is very it's kind of like existential almost, and like so much slower and like plotting than most of the other songs.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got YouTube user Invillian, I think Invillian2424, Invilian, I don't know, commented on Versus Yokai 3 years ago and just said, "My mint in a test." So I are you familiar with this? Where like a mint is supposed to like trigger your brain activity better. So I had teachers in high school that were like, "Hey, before you take a test, especially in the morning, like pop some mints while you're taking the test because that helps trigger your memory better." So what Invillian2424 is saying is that either they're listening to this song while taking a test, or they're imagining this song while taking a test, and that helps them take a test. Yeah, that was also my reaction. If I was hearing that funky ass bass line while taking a test, I don't know that I could focus on the test. I just thought that was a very silly comment. YouTube user Kaisona2017 commented on New Yokai City 4 years ago. "If Yokai Watch ever gets represented in Smash, I want this to be one of the songs." And then he edited it a couple years later saying, "Sadly, no Yokai Watch representation."
I always also wanted, obviously Jibanyan in it or something, but we never got him.
You know, we somehow end up talking about Smash on almost every episode of the show in some way or some way or another. I will say I was never joining you on the Jibanyan train. I know you wanted Jibanyan in Smash. I never fully joined you. I wanted him for you, but I was never fully on board that train. You know, again, connecting with Yokai Watch so much in the past week, I would have been totally down for Jibanyan in Smash just to get the music in now. Like, yeah, hey, Kaisona 2017 is right. New Yokai City, any of these songs, especially the battle songs, would have been pretty good to have in Smash. Especially remixes would have been pretty good. Lastly, we've got YouTube user Bored Goddess Story 6635 commented on Versus American Yokai 6 months ago. "Mythical Japanese ghosts beating up American stereotypes. Peak fiction." And that's it.
Okay.
I guess that's been the bulk of the episode then. Since Seth is not here, I guess I get to be the one that reads off the Patreon shoutouts, the Triforce tier and the Golden Banana tier. As a warning, Seth did give me the names, but he didn't give me all of y'all's like titles that he's given you. So I'm just gonna read these off. Because I thought about a funny bit would have been if I tried to, by memory, place the titles. Like, first up on the Triforce tier is Adam Caparello, host of the Retro Groove podcast. That one I've heard so many times. Maybe we will try that. Okay, Bowza is Keeper of the Hugs. Dan and Luma, I don't think has one. Daniel Hinojosa, I don't think has one. Foolish Fuji, the koala from Down Under. I'm not doing the Australian accent. I'm not doing it. Don't make me do it. John Cummins, Josh Vaughn, Liger Woods, 330. Sparky, I think Sparky is the Jet Settin' Nintendo Hubbin' Sparky or something like that. The Don Rob and Uncle Randy. That is Seth's actual Uncle Randy, just so you know. And then in the Golden Banana tier, we've got Big Dogs Only, Bill Tucker, Bob Loblaw. He's over at his famous Bob Loblaw's Law blog. SAZ, Gamer Jason, Liam D, Marcus O'Neill, Phelan Ward, Presto the Magnificent, Rob Yapel, Shy Guy, thank you Shy Guy, Sean Ashton, Solo, Tim A. It's that Neo Prime, whatever, it's fine. I'm not going to try and do any more of these by memory. But that has been your Patreon shout-outs. I'm not good at remembering to shout out the Patreon stuff, but hey, you can head on over to the All In Patreon, sign up over there. You get a ton of new content. You get access to BitHarmony, at least a guaranteed 1 day early. Lately, it's been at least a couple days early. You also get early access to Seth's new show, The Koopa Cast. You get early access to that. There's also stuff like the $2 Hero Cast, which is Seth's solo show that is Patreon exclusive. There's probably some other stuff over there. I don't know. Side quests. I think I was on the most recent side quest. Head on over there. Links will be in the show notes. With all that said, our next episode should be going up on November 3rd. We're already through October. Though it's weird recording this as early as we're not even halfway through October. We're already talking about November now. Our next episode should be going up on November 3rd, and that's going to be on Donkey Kong Country 2, Diddy's Kong Quest. You go listen to that one?
Well, half of it.
We're kind of based on Seth's like crazy situations between moving and flying to Extra Life over the course of the next few weeks. We're trying to give ourselves some like layups, some easy things to do, you know, and like DKC2, like it's just gonna be an easy one, you know. It's also gonna be easy to replay. I can beat that game in an afternoon, kind of thing. And, you know, I've been thinking I might even stream that. Like I might stream my entire playthrough replay of DKC2. So I guess watch out for that in the Discord. Another reason for you to join the Discord. I don't think I mentioned that you could join the Discord. You can join the Discord. Otherwise, I think that's going to be it, except for the haikus and our first guest haiku. Do you want to read yours first or second?
I'm going to read mine first.
Okay. We got to pull it up here. It's on the desktop. Okay, can you read it?
Yeah.
I'm not looking.
It's fine. Warm summer night sky, cicada friends, ugly dogs, fun and joyful times.
That's nice. That's nice. I like the warm summer night sky. That's very evocative. My haikus are not usually very evocative. They're much more straightforward. They're kind of just short sentences, you know. And I realize that that's not really necessarily the point of haikus. But yeah, you and Seth are better at like evoking like feelings than I am, you know.
Okay. Let's hear it.
Hold on, it's on my phone this time. I gotta pull it up. This was specifically inspired by, I think I mentioned this, by the train ride in Yokai Watch 2. Landscapes sliding by, a lifetime's worth not enough, seeing them with you.
That's very nice.
It was about you, specifically. Not just Yokai Watch, but...
I like it a lot.
Good. I'm glad. I'm glad I didn't fail the haiku while you were on this time. But yeah, that has been it from us at Bit Harmony. Hope you enjoyed. Hope you enjoyed my wife as the guest host. Hope you got to enjoy hearing about something that you probably don't hear about that often if you're in like our general age demographic. I feel like there aren't many people trying to hype up Yokai Watch nowadays, you know. So thank you all for listening. Taking you out this episode is Peaceful Scenery from Yokai Watch 2. We'll see you next time for Donkey Kong Country 2. See you later. Bye.
Bye.